Simon, what does it tell us? We now hear that Manchester United are closing in on an agreement of 80 million quid with Borussia Dortmund for Jadon Sancho. Now, this means if they get him for this amount of money, Simon, it means that Dortmund have dropped their summer valuation of last year of over 100 million to 80 million.
Yep.
How is this? How does this happen in football? I mean, does it, from United's point of view,
it's called a deal. So if you get 110 million from one side, and you get 50 million for the other side, you add them together, you split it by two, what'd you get? 80 million quid.
Yeah.
You get a deal. And that's how you do deals, because everybody walks away from the table going, I've had a deal. United will look at it and say, I've chipped it down from 110 million quid.
Yeah, but they said that at one stage you wouldn't go above 50.
And Dortmund turn around and say, we've got it up from 50. They've gone in the middle if this transaction happens at 80 million quid, and everybody walks away with a deal saying, I got more than I was being offered. I got less than I was being asked for.
So I see. So this is really down to supply and demand. This is give and take.
Well, it's a deal.
Yeah,
it's basically
a deal.
Basically Dortmund saying 110 million, Man United saying no 50, putting them together, dividing it by two, and getting 80 million quid. Everybody says I've had it my way. The beauty of the beauty of Manchester United fans' position by the leverage they've created on the Glazers will now operate almost in a virtue signalling mode by buying players and paying a lot more than they want to try and appease the United fans that they've massively offended over the years by the nature of their purchase, by the most recent set of circumstances where the fans can really ramp up the rhetoric and really double down on the distaste for the Glazers because they've opened the door for them.
Sure.
So it's almost, for me, buying players in this climate, in these circumstances, for this kind of dough, from United's point of view, is almost like a kind of financial virtue signal. I.e., we'll do what you want us to do. We're going to buy your favour back by buying the best players and giving Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the opportunity to make a Horlicks of it with them.
No. Well, maybe he will, maybe he won't. But having said all that, Simon, they've made a £30 million saving.
Yes.
And they've waited a year to do that. Is it worth it for a club like United to wait 12 long months to get this nailed down?
They've made a £30 million saving, or they've spent £30 million more. Which one do you want to advance, right? Their position was, we want to spend 50 million quid, right? So we say, if we're United, they'll say, we've had their pants down, we've knocked them down by 30 million quid.
Yeah.
The Dortmund side of the table will say, we've had their pants down, we've pushed them up by 30 million quid. That's a deal.
Yeah.
That's how a deal perhaps should be done, because both parties walk away from the scenario. Now, you could turn around and say, that £30 million saving that Manchester United had, or that £30 million increase that they've spent, could have been massively superseded by United being more successful in the Champions League as a result of having Jadon Sancho in the side last year, and that £30 million would have been absorbed back into the cash flow of the club by having greater levels of success in the Champions League or greater levels of success anywhere else. Difficult to see where they could have got greater levels of success because they finished second in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Perhaps they could have won a cup, i.e. a domestic cup, but that's not going to pay for it. They could have been more successful in Europe. Okay, they lost the Europa League, but the idea wasn't to get flung out of one tournament because you stink to go and win another one. The idea was to be successful in the elite tournament, which is what Man United set up for. And Jadon Sancho could have taken them out of the group stages. If it had taken them out of the group stages by him being there, this is saying this is the argument we're having, then they'd have got another 30 million quid. So you're in a neutral position in the high world of hypothesis, aren't you?
It's almost the perfect deal, isn't it? It's almost the perfect deal because...
Depends how much you rate the player.
The buyer thinks they've done well out of it.
Yeah,
and this is all to be confirmed, incidentally.
So.
It hasn't been confirmed yet. But the buyer, Dortmund, thinks they've done well, as you rightly say.
Yep.
We got them up by 30. United think they've done well because we brought them down by 30.
That is the definition of a deal. Most football transactions are an autocracy. They're basically some ghastly agent or some football club in the box seat dictating to others and basically leaving as much ill will in the room as they possibly can get. In this one, the only part of this that will now become probably slightly convoluted is how much the boy's going to get paid. Right?
Yeah.
That's where it'll all come to pass. Where Man United get their £30 million saving, potentially, will then find its way possibly into the player's salary when we start to see the ridiculous demands from whoever's representing him.
For sure. And they'll be around the corner. For me, Simon, I think United have done well out of this. If this does come to light that this is what they've paid and that the deal is confirmed, because it shows that patience has worked here, in my view. They were right to wait. They knocked them down.
Well, did they wait, or did they got dictated to by the nature of Dortmund's stance, and have Dortmund adjusted to the world that we now live in and say, what's going to happen to the transfer market? Because you could turn around and say, really and truly, that £80 million for a good player a winger, a good player. £80 million in this climate is top money.
Yeah.
It's top money.
Yeah.
Because you've got to put a factor of 30-40% reduction in transfer fees given the landscape of the world that we're living in. We have advanced on this programme that huge clubs like Barcelona are strapped.
Yeah.
And other clubs like Real Madrid. So the marketplace, Dortmund are probably competing in an infertile marketplace. A little bit further down the pyramid, the same problem will happen for Crystal Palace with Wilfried Zaha, who yet again has turned the wheel and said, I want to leave and it's now my time to leave. Yeah. Palace will get nowhere near what they thought they might get a couple of years ago when the market was more buoyant, more resistant to the financial landscape that we now have, which has been absolutely decimated by COVID-19 and the lack of live attendances.
Have you ever waited as long as a year to get a deal done? Or would you ever have waited as long as
There's a few
12
players
months?
I'd like to have waited for a lot longer than a year to have ever signed in the first place.
Dan Atkins makes a good point. Dan, good morning to you. Sancho, arguably, Simon, a better player now than he was last year. So he'd be probably worth more now anyway. So this deal shows that United were right to wait and they've done well in regards to business done.
Well, the only thing that they waited for was their lack of application. I guarantee you, if the storm that was reverberating around the Glazers happened last year, they'd have paid Dortmund 110 million quid. Because it's a deflection, like some politician said a few years ago. It's a good day for bad news. Yeah. This is a good day, an opportunity for the Glazers to deflect away from the fact that they're the most awful, revolting, nauseating, worst kind of owner that the world could ever allow to own a football club, and start to pile some money into big-time transfers. This will give a bit of deflection.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.